Hey, what's up, guys? Order in Bedlam, second podcast coming at you.
MySpace sucks.
Yeah, so last week where we left Order in Bedlam, Sam and I decided that we were going to attempt to get into MySpace accounts. We've at this time have been unable to do so, but we are determined, and we'll be returning to this matter with a certain amount of testicular fortitude, and we'll get into that. But moving on, we want to kind of get into. Let's just jump right into this. No intros necessary here.
So we're going to start off with the topic we talked about last week. It was the Avengers Infinity War movie. The new trailer just got released,
Right,
a few days ago,
almost on cue.
and there's a lot to say about this trailer.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many teasers in it.
Plus, there's so much other information that has come out since then. The runtime has been released. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not see that, actually.
They're saying it's 159 minutes, so over 2.5 hours long, which is,
Good stuff.
I think, a half an hour too short, because
Yeah,
there's
I
still a
think so.
lot to tell in the story.
Yeah, 3 hours, the minimum.
In the trailer, you see the Black Order, which is Thanos' henchmen. They're there for a few minutes behind Loki. So Loki once again has turned back to his good old tricks, without no pun intended.
Yeah, Loki's such an asshole. Oh my god. He's always constantly pulling tricks on poor Thor. And he always fucking. And yeah, Loki. I feel like Loki gets more girls than Thor does.
I could see that
You know?
easily.
I feel like Loki doesn't look like he'd be the date rape kind, but he's just, I don't know.
It's the baby face.
Yeah, it is.
It's the baby face.
Yeah, exactly.
Interestingly enough, do you know which two characters are going to have the most screen time in this movie?
I'm gonna say Black Panther.
No.
Really?
The two characters that are going to have the most screen time in this movie are Thanos. So
Yeah.
pretty much, I'm guessing, being
Well,
told by Thanos.
obviously, yeah, it's gonna be.
And Thor.
Really?
Thor and Thanos have the most screen time in this movie. Thanos,
That's
I
interesting.
understand.
Yeah.
Thor, I don't understand why Thor is...
Well, I would say that it probably has more to do with his connection with Loki. You know what I mean?
I could see that.
So
I
maybe
guess.
they're gonna start going in that. Maybe Black Widow gonna try and get in there. Maybe seduce Loki a little bit. I feel like that chick is just like trouble waiting to happen though for these guys. You know what I mean? She's just running around in this fucking
She's a
leather
Yoko
outfit.
Ono.
She's like the opposite of Thor's hammer. Only the most disgusting people can pick up that pussy.
She's
know,
she's the Yoko Ono of the Avengers, let's be honest.
Loki's got one coming in hot with that chick. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm really excited for this movie, man. Every week that we get closer,
Tickets are officially on sale.
Yeah, I'm going opening night, dude.
Opening night, we will be there.
IMAX.
And the night after, and probably the next 2 nights after.
Climax 3D. I am going to see that movie minimum of 3 times.
You thought the floors were wet after 50 Shades Freed? Your feet are going to be stuck on the floor leaving Infinity War. Promise you.
For sure. But, yeah, so definitely check that out. Well, I've been trying to go through that trailer and pick out some of the Easter eggs. I mean, at least the ones that I could find. But I'm fucking dumb and uneducated. So if you guys could please go through that trailer and just leave it in the comment section. Just a couple of cool ones for me. That would be pretty sick. I'd appreciate it. I'll send you, I don't know. I'll send you some of my pubes or my spit. I don't know. You can clone me.
Something personal.
Yeah, I'll send you something real personal and nice. I don't know. It's just maybe a macaroni necklace, but I don't really wait until Christmas to make those.
So a movie you don't want to walk out of the theater being all sticky. There's a trailer for this new Winnie the Pooh movie called Christopher Robin.
Oh my God! Listen, this took the world by storm. And I thought it would have been fucking crazy. You called him what? A bummed out Ted? He looks like Ted for kids.
Ted for kids, yeah.
Yeah, he does look like Ted for kids now, man. But he looks fucking run down and homeless, which I was just kind of like, all right, everybody grew up with Winnie the Pooh, and I can't even imagine what the rest of the gang looks like. But he finds him. He's just sitting on a fucking bench in the park. Christopher Robin, and all of a sudden you hear the nostalgia Pooh voice, right? It's just epic Pooh voice that makes your heart smile inside,
Just pure happiness.
And then he turns around and he looks like he slept in a puddle for the last 2 months. He just looks fucking homeless, you know?
2 months? You mean like years?
It has been years, I think, in the plot of that, but
I bet you Christopher Robin ends up in a psych ward after this movie.
yeah, he's just definitely done like too many drugs.
I mean,
But I don't know. I just picture Pooh. Pooh just looks like he's trying to get money for the bus. Christopher. It's like,
then you got Ewan McGregor as Christopher Robin. Like,
yeah, I know. That's a. I don't actually. I don't think I mind that though. I don't
No.
know. It's okay to have change, Christopher. Unless it's in your pockets, don't give it to me, bitch. Ah! And then he just goes on a stab spree, you know.
Christopher Robin pulls out a lightsaber. General Kenobi.
And I don't know. Some of these movies that come out, I feel like that one actually might be kind of interesting, though. I don't know. I mean, it's something. I don't know. My sister probably want to go see it. I don't fucking know.
Let's be honest. Anybody grew up watching Winnie the Pooh is going to secretly go by themselves or with nephews or nieces they have.
Absolutely. You go into that movie with a hood on, and you fucking sit down. You probably sneak a beer in because you just got to get ready for some potential disappointment.
Here's one I forgot to put on the itinerary as I cross under Pooh. Because this sounds horrible. I don't know if you've seen the news. So I don't know who it was I was reading, but they want to turn I think it's Warner Brothers. They want to turn The Matrix into an expanded universe. They want to start making new movies, and it's on the drawing board right now.
Dude, all right. I know this is kind of crazy. So a couple months ago on Netflix, the Godzilla animated
Came
came
out.
out, right?
Yeah.
I really liked that. I really liked the dynamic and the atmosphere of that. I thought it was cool. And I had seen this, that they had considered maybe remaking The Matrix or making more movies or like doing whatever. I think that in terms of like the original plot that they kind of left off at, I think you should just maybe leave What Enough alone. I think that it would be interesting to see maybe new characters explored. I think this is a really great opportunity for some awesome cameos. But I really would have loved to seen something animated with this.
Oh, another Animatrix?
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been cool because the Animatrix was great.
Yeah, I would love to have seen, like, I don't know, maybe like something on Netflix. Netflix has really just become like the sole proprietor
Of original content.
At this point. I feel like anytime that there's anything like really interesting that I've watched lately, it's on YouTube or on Netflix. So I think that this was a chance for them to really kind of like step up. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but The Matrix is such a dynamic and complex web.
Yeah. Well, my concern going into something like this so this is the problem with the whole cinematic universe thing. The reason why Marvel and DC have created their cinematic universes is because this is almost a century's worth of comic book lore that we are finally being able to see put onto screen. Something we've wanted to see for, again, going back to Infinity War, this is something they've, almost 30 years in the making. Stuff they could have never done before. The Matrix was a trilogy of movies and a good game and a great animated bunch of shorts. But they're doing it with everything now. Everything's getting a cinematic universe. And I think eventually this is going to just wear out on content that doesn't need a cinematic. Let me tell you, do you want to see a Winnie the Pooh cinematic universe?
Nah.
Do I need an Eeyore movie?
I would love that. No. Yeah, I think we could all kind of pretty much do without that. But yeah, I think it's a pretty valid point, dude. It's kind of like how people drag out music festivals. That's kind of like a similar feeling that I get to that. Like when people put shit headliners for to sell tickets when there's like one or two really good bands on the list. I don't know. It's to me that's like a similar kind of feeling. Like there's just no reason for it, and you kind of just like spoil something that could be good for no reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of look and we're in a time where everything is all remakes, reboots, sequels, prequels. There's nothing really original, and this is one of those things where it's like, okay, we ran out of ideas. Let's pull out something new that was very popular.
This is the age of YouTube, my friend. This is the age where I think people will look back someday and they'll see how media and art forms in media changed, like, dynamically. The way that they've been presented has radically changed in a very short time. I mean, just think about, like, in terms of going from VHS, making the transitions over to DVD, and the transitions to Blu-ray, to primarily digital content, where there's almost basically no need for physical content anymore. But there is, I mean, to people who enjoy it, but other than that, it's not a necessity.
It's me.
You know, I mean, if you have, like, collectors and stuff, I mean, that shit's awesome, but I
It
mean,
is awesome.
if you really wanted to, you could go completely
You could.
without, like, you could just download whatever you want. I mean, like, today, I downloaded PUBG against, you know, people telling me that you shouldn't get it for console, which you're probably right. But
We are too poor to make our own gaming PCs right now.
yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I just downloaded it. I didn't even have to go to the store and get, like, a CD. It's just
It's right there at your fingertips.
It pulled the money out of my account, and I didn't have to go anywhere. I just clicked, and I had it. That's just wild when you stop and think about it.
Well, especially when we grew up
People
20
get,
years ago.
yeah, dude, people get so impatient over stuff.
Especially downloading now. Even though you can download it in like a few hours, they're still impatient.
Yeah, it's like,
crazy.
dude, this is unbelievable. Like, come on, man.
20 years ago, if we wanted to see a movie, we had to go to Blockbuster, and maybe they had a copy if it was a new release.
Yeah, exactly. I think didn't Louis C.K. do something like that one time? He talked about something that was pretty similar to that.
Maybe.
I think he was talking about, like, cell phones or some shit. He's like, can you give it a fucking second? Like, it's going to space.
Yeah, that was it.
Give it a minute. It's going to fucking space, dude. Relax. But
People need to chill.
yeah.
Take your tinfoil hats off and chill.
No, actually, you should put your tinfoil hats back on, ladies and gents, because I don't know. Now, look, you know me. I love a good tinfoil hat story every once in a while, Sam. And
We've spent
think
many
we all-
days talking about John Teeter, which will be a topic somewhere in
Listen.
the future.
all right, guys, listen. One of my goals for this podcast is to get people to start talking about John Teeter again. All right, this is a sole goal of mine. All right, very much like one of my favorite channels, the LA Beast. His goal was to bring back Crystal Pepsi. My goal is to bring back John Teeter from the year 2142, wherever the hell he was from. And if you've not had a chance yet to go, if you've never heard of that, just look that story up because it's absolutely ridiculous. But this week I was scrolling through Facebook, and I go through Reddit, like, you know, as I often do, and came across a really interesting Twitter story, which basically we're going to give you a breakdown here. I already showed you the video, so you kind of already have an idea of, like, what this was, but this guy basically his account name was Ty. It's at Straight Away. The account no longer exists, but there's a huge uproar right now because supposedly this guy a couple of nights ago or however long it was, he posted a video of a voicemail that he received, which had military coded alphabet on it.
Phonetic alphabet
Right.
and coordinates.
Right. So obviously this guy was just like, hey, like, what the hell is this shit on my voicemail? So I guess he got the voicemail while he's driving, and he just didn't answer it because I don't fucking know. He's just probably smoking a cigarette or doing heroin or whatever he is. I don't know. So anyway, he got home and he answered his voicemail, and it had this phonetic alphabet coding on it. So obviously he went and found some way to decrypt it, I think on Google or whatever. and it had an SOS message on it that was kind of talking about SOS. They are not human or whatever. Evacuate immediately. They're not human to that extent, right? So this spread so rapidly, and I had oddly enough been scrolling and saw this thread when it was only maybe a couple of hundred people had commented on it, and now it's just blown up to, I think, a couple of million people have seen it on social media. The Reddit thread has just become astronomical.
When we put this up, we're gonna tag the link in the video.
Right. So we'll make sure that we cite all the original source. We'll make sure that we cite the Reddit mega thread. But this is really interesting because, all kidding aside, like sometimes, who knows like what's really going on behind the curtains, and I like to pay attention to this stuff because it's just interesting, and
some of it's humorous. Let's be honest.
Yeah, some of it's ridiculous, and I think that this is the probably if there are things that people post that are credible, I think that it kind of gets lost in the muck because now people. You ever heard of the cicada puzzles?
Yeah.
So they're like these really insane puzzles that are like all over the place, and nobody has any idea what they are. People have speculated for years, like what these things are, and people have. There's been an array of things like it's like contact with some sort of extraterrestrial life at the end of it. Some tinfoil rainbow. Where does this go at the end? That it leads to some sort of a spy program where if you can get through this, then like they recruit you to some sort of an organization. Like there's just been a wide array of this, and now at some point in this thread, people have begun to speculate. Somebody has tried to bring forward that this is some sort of a cicada puzzle. Now, which is a complete deviation away from what the original posting was. And, there's been a couple of other points that have been made as well, which are, if this was an SOS thing, then why was it coded?
To be part of an evacuation coded.
Exactly, which wouldn't make really much sense. There are certain parts of this story, for sure, that are questionable. If there is any part of it that is questionable at this point...
is the coordinates.
Right, so that's where we're going to get into the next point of this, which is the coordinates, which some people have, or they've speculated are coordinates, right? So people have tried to take this number and put it into their phones to call it. One person on Twitter, I think, did that and ended up getting like a 1-800-COLLECT number or something like that. But so at the end of this, people basically took these coordinates, and where they found this led to was somewhere off the coast of Asia.
Asia or Africa, I think.
Asia, Africa. So, but regardless, somewhere near Malaysia, right? So this is where it ties into kind of the oddly interesting point which has been made now. So which is that this could potentially be a recording which is on a black box, which was present on the plane, which disappeared in, I believe, 2014 off the coast. It wasn't even near Malaysia, which is another thing I'd like to say is that I went back and looked at this, and I've been reading about this for a couple of days now, and the crash site was nowhere near where the coordinates point to, but it is near Malaysia. And, Ty had been receiving voice, messages from, scrambled numbers or whatever, and saying that you need to delete this post right now. As far as he even said that he had seen somebody taking photos out of his house, at 3 a.m. He happened to be sitting in his car, which some people were like, hey, why are you sitting in your car at 3 a.m.? And he happened to see this guy. His response was he couldn't sleep that night. He was smoking a cigarette. So, like I said, it is a situation where there are a lot of variables present. At this point now, the internet's gotten so involved in it that it's kind of, I think it would be hard if there isn't whatever truth there is here to to determine what that actually is, other than the first couple of original posts.
Pretty much breaking down what that voicemail is, because everything else could have just snowballed from people fucking with this guy.
Right, exactly. And I think that maybe is, to some extent, what's maybe happened here. There's a whole lot of speculation about this, and what really caught my attention, though, was how they try to tie it back into the Malaysia flight that disappeared. For any of you guys that are listening, if you don't know what that was, in 2014, basically a flight left out of Malaysia, long story short, and completely disappeared. No trace of it whatsoever. And, you know, a lot of people came out of the woodworks and kind of speculated on where they think it was. Maybe it went through another dimension, some sort of stuff like this. So I would really like to hear what you guys kind of think about this. I'm going to make sure that we tag this video appropriately, and that we cite all of the information that's credible at this point. If you guys have any, ideas on what you think's maybe going on, leave it in the comment section below. Let's get a discussion going about this.
We need a podcast just on conspiracy theories.
We could definitely have a segment about conspiracy theories, man. I think that kind of stuff is...
Let us know if we should do one in the comments below.
Yeah, I would love to kind of talk about that stuff. Or if you guys want us to maybe take a couple minutes every once in a while and maybe talk about one. I don't know.
We've taken up a third of the podcast so far talking about this, because we could talk about this forever.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
But if we want to jump from this could be a conspiracy theory in itself. So I don't know how many of you listeners out there are fans of metal music, but there's a technical death metal band out there called The Faceless. I've been a really big fan of The Faceless since their second album came out, Dualism. Yeah. And let me tell you, there are very few bands out there that break up like The Faceless does.
Right.
And for probably the third time in their career, every member but the founding guitar player, Michael Keane, has quit the band.
And Taylor Swift and The Faceless should do an album about breakups.
Now, it's funny because they just put out a brand new album, Becoming a Ghost. I don't know if you listened to it.
Yeah, it was rather lackluster. I didn't really like it that much.
I thought there was some weak stuff on it, but The Faceless, they're an up and down kind of band. There was some solid shit on that new album I really liked. And then there was some other stuff that was like, okay. But dude, I've seen them live like 5 times, and they put out a great live fucking show.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That I will attest to, absolutely.
I don't know what the hell their problem is. Like,
I think it's just that dude. I think he just can't get his drugs and alcohol.
People think Dave Mustaine is an asshole, but I wonder how big of a dick.
Yeah, fucking Mega Dave.
Michael Keane is.
Dude, honestly, how many times has there been 3 lineup changes, complete lineup changes at this point? Dude?
I want to say 3.
Dude, freaking Caitlyn Jenner is better at keeping a member than The Faceless at this point.
I
don't know. Does she still have a member? I don't know.
I remember. She does not have. Probably has them in a jar somewhere.
Just carries it around.
Good luck charm.
I got a jar of dick. I got a jar of dick. Oh, Caitlyn. That was crazy. That was great that Bruce did that, though. Sorry. Well, Caitlyn did that. It was great.
What is she doing these days?
I don't know. It's a great question. We're going to find out what Caitlyn's been up to.
Probably has a MySpace that we can't access.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Man. Probably selling fucking cardboard for Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's something.
This is the biggest hash trick ever in video games, dude, is that Nintendo is trying to sell cardboard.
But they're going to do it, and they'll be successful at it.
That's so ballin', dude. That's almost as great as... all right, listen.
This is the pet rock in 2018.
Yeah. Sometimes people, just have amazingly brilliant fucking ideas, dude. Honestly, there's one channel that, I want to make a shout-out to. That's such a thing to do. Just make a shout-out. I want to make a shout-out to all my friends at home,
Is this Wonderwall?
No, but there's this guy that's on YouTube called the Report of the Week, and if you guys haven't heard of this dude, you got to check this guy out. That guy is a fucking genius. This dude is a fucking genius, dude. If you wanted to know how much of a badass this kid is, he goes, basically, here's what he does, right, on his channel. He goes to fast food establishments, right, and he just eats. He just reviews food.
He looks like he just got off the Titanic after it sank. And he went to Taco Bell to review, like, their food.
Yeah.
And he takes it really seriously.
It's fucking, honestly, he's the like Bob Ross, dude. He's like Bob Ross level. I've seen people like compare him to that, and I'm like, damn, that is accurate. Like, this guy, I'm telling you, his voice is like laxatives for the soul. It's unbelievable. Like, I love this kid, dude. He literally made a 20-minute video about water.
Why he has a Starbucks cup of water.
And I
in every
fucking
video.
watched it.
We watched it.
And it's gotten over 1 million views. Like,
What's the kid's name in that video? Do we have a name?
I don't have a nope. If you search "running on empty" food review, you will find this. And I'm just like, I am all about this. Check him out, seriously. He's not even a disgusting food reviewer to watch. The kid, his etiquette is unreal. This dude seriously must just slay pussy. Like an animal shelter.
You guys gonna see him review this cheddar breaded popcorn shrimp from Popeyes. And he's disgusted.
That was a great one, dude. That was a great one. Oh man, I'm telling you, check this guy's channel out, the Report of the Week, on YouTube. It's man, he's fantastic. He's become one of my favorites, like right up there with the LA Beast and all the greats. You know, I love those guys so much. But check out their content, man. It's really good. Anyway, let's go back in.
As I was saying about, talking about Nintendo's cardboard, the new Pet Rock. They just had a direct a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you watched any of it.
Yes.
I just want to hit on some specific points. First of all, the big one was the new Smash Brothers.
Absolutely.
New Smash Brothers.
That is their way forward for competitive gaming. And I was thinking about this while I was playing Siege. That is Nintendo's, I think between that, Mario Kart, and a couple of other games, and I'm sure other people have deduced this too. I'm pretty sure, I think IGN had already kind of talked about it, or had a segment about it, about Nintendo's role in esports. But I think that now they have, and here's always been kind of my beef, right, with the Switch and Nintendo consoles for the last little bit, right, is their desire to have ports and use the device rather than have ports like Skyrim, Doom, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's great, but I mean, when people play those games, I mean, you could play them on any console, you know what I mean? What I like is that they've tried to maybe make more of a balance on this now. And the Switch has put out a couple of games that really have been exceptional, right? Like Zelda.
Yeah.
One of the best games, arguably, Nintendo has put out in a long time, Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, phenomenal.
They really do have it kind of going here. If they can nail this balance and focus on the original content that the console can do that the other consoles can't do.
Well, the other thing that they've been doing, I had an article up. There was a game that came out on Steam. Steam is very known for its indie titles.
Right.
And it was a game this game called Blossom Tales, and the company almost went bankrupt because the game got lost in the sales in Steam. Nintendo, tomorrow, we'll have this up after the Nindies happen. Nintendo has a Nintendo Direct dedicated to indie titles.
Right.
And there's a lot of indie companies dropping these titles on the Switch, and people are eating them up.
That's
because
fucking great, dude. The Binding of Isaac.
Binding of Isaac
Was awesome. awesome. I had the Binding of Isaac on Steam, like when it was first released.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, damn, like, look, there's some games that I'm really like, wow, I really love playing these on PC. And a lot of, I don't know if like PC gamers would probably even agree with this, but like there's honestly some games that like I just really love playing on a console.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. Like, there's just something about the aesthetic of it. Like, the mouse and the keyboard for some games, just like some games are better on PC, right? Like, I would prefer to play, like, a Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six on
Most
a console.
real-time strategy games on console.
Exactly. I think that there's just some games that translate to different control schemes better than others. And it's just, like, the overall feel and timbre of it all,
Yeah.
you know, of it to me, and I don't know. I think that Nintendo that could be their niche. I think that the Switch, I was very critical of it.
Oh yeah, he was.
I was extremely critical of it because when it first launched, I didn't see as much original content as I had hoped. I think Mario Odyssey really kind of like did a decent job of like breaking it up. Breath of the Wild was a launch title. That was an amazing start for them. But I wondered how deep that vein would run, and if they would lose focus.
Well, it was very worrisome because it was Breath of the Wild.
Playing Doom and Skyrim on it was like, when I saw that direction, it's like slightly worried me, and I don't know, maybe it's like a slight ignorance on my part, but it just, for the resolution that console provides, it's like a middle-level tablet, hardware-wise.
Yeah.
So I was like, focus on what separates you, you know?
Yeah, but you know, even having some of those ports, I'm playing Doom a lot right now on my Switch, and yeah, it's not the 4K 1080p, but it still looks pretty decent. It still looks pretty decent compared to, you know, some developers' other games right now. The fact that Bethesda, one of the biggest, probably the most successful video game company in the world, when we're going with Nintendo's new console, I mean, that was a big deal. Rockstar is still kind of like, besides L.A. Noire. You know, they released L.A. Noire, and there are definitely hardware flaws with the system, with their internal memory, and the fact that I personally think the dock needs to have its own graphics card and chip in there so you can get the full resolution 4K. But
that is a great idea.
But you know what? You don't have to replace your whole console just for the dock, which
Yeah.
I think you just build a brand new dock. Now, what Nintendo plans on doing, I don't know. But going back to what we were saying, they have the whole indie scene now going after. You ever play Undertale?
Yes.
I have not played-
Undertale was great.
That got announced at the Direct.
Yes.
They have an RPG out that I've been dying to play, Golf Story. It's an RPG about playing golf,
Yep.
and it looks so stupid. Like, and I told this to you a long time ago. The video game console wars isn't about Nintendo playing catch up with Sony and Xbox, because Sony and Microsoft, they're doing their thing, and
Right.
they're both fighting each other.
That's the dick race over there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Nintendo is.
They need to be. That's what I mean, though. So
Yeah.
I think we've been on the same page about this. Like they have room, and this is what I've loved about them. Nintendo was always the creative guy. Okay. Even with the Wii, like just think about the amount of times that Nintendo's revolutionized hardware, just hardware alone, right?
Even going back to the Nintendo.
I would say in terms of companies that have innovated the most in terms of hardware, and I'm not saying this necessarily in terms of like power, capability, and things like that, but just in terms of changing the dynamic of how games were played and how different things were presented. I would say Valve and Nintendo.
Oh, arguably, like,
I think are two of the developers that have really exceptionally changed the dynamic of how games are played. And I've always demanded that Nintendo focus more on that. So when they would put consoles out, right, I'm like, all right, maybe you don't need to be a graphical powerhouse to do what you need to do. Would I like to see maybe a lower price point, maybe slightly? Yeah. How much are you paying for the Nintendo name there? All right, whatever. But yeah, I wanted them to do this, especially with the PS5 around the corner, supposedly. Um, I think E3 is going to hold a lot for us this year, and by the way, we're going to be doing a lot of E3 coverage as that's ongoing. We plan on really focusing on a lot of live coverage as things go on over the summer, and it's going to be an exciting time. One thing I must ask you, and I wonder about this, because I saw them, when I saw them port Skyrim, I said, I wonder if this will be a possibility. I think this might be a possibility. Do you think that we may potentially see a Fallout 4 port to the Switch?
Oh, okay. So I actually did my research on this because I don't have to tell you, when I worked overnights, 16 hours a night playing Fallout 4. My concern with that was how big that game was.
Right.
The size of Fallout 4, the total game for like a PC install was 28 gigabytes.
Right.
28 and change. The cards that they install the games, and I don't know if that includes DLC. I'm going to say no. I could be wrong. But 28 base. The cards are 32. And now they can support 64. These cards can now put 64 gigabytes of data on there. I think looking at the memory and the fact that Nintendo said, we're putting Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, on the Switch later this year, I think Fallout was a very highly possibility. And Fallout, to me, my favorite game is Super Mario Bros. 3, all time. I own that on every console known to man.
Yeah, absolutely. I got my 3DS.
Fallout 4, I want a VR headset so I can play Fallout 4 on VR. I want the Game of the Year edition, so I have that on my PS4. And I want it on my fucking Switch so I can play it portable. And I think between Skyrim coming out last year and Doom coming out last year, and we have Wolfenstein from Bethesda.
I think that there could be a port.
There could be a second Bethesda port onto the Switch, which may most likely happen to be Fallout 4.
I think that, yes. I was actually thinking about that today. I was like, you know what would be awesome at E3? Like, what would I like to see ported to the Switch? And yes, absolutely. I think in terms of, I actually like that they went back to the cartridges, man. I like that. I don't know. Cartridges theoretically are better also, aren't they? There's no load times, or like it's just
it cuts the load time down. If you take care of them, it's not. I mean, okay, it's easier to take care of a cartridge if you don't let them. Your 5-year-old lay them all over the place and the dog eat them.
Right.
But it's not like CDs where they're gonna get scratched.
Right.
Very
exactly.
easily. You can fit more memory on there. I know even Blu-rays. Blu-rays are limited in their space.
Right.
Yeah, the Switch cartridges can only hold 64, and it does have built-in memory. You can get additional memory.
Expand, right, exactly.
Yeah.
How much can you expand it to?
128 at the moment. But I think even Nintendo is not Apple. I think Nintendo is smart enough to go, okay, so with games like LA Noire, where you are going to need the 16 gigabyte download on top of what's in the game, Nintendo's going to be looking to somehow improve this hardware.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that in 1 year they've sold more consoles than the Wii U did in its 5, 6, 7 year run.
Right.
And actually, I think a lot of the ports right now that Nintendo has coming out, from like first party, are the games from the Wii U.
Right.
Because that console is going to get lost in time as a failure. Probably their biggest hardware failure, if you don't include the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But,
or the, what is it? The CDI, Philips CDI.
CDI or the Atari Jaguar. But yeah, we're going to...
That's like Nintendo's freaking kid they keep under the stairs.
Which one?
The Philips CDI.
Oh, jeez,
yeah. Zelda port and Bowser's Hotel or Mario Hotel, whatever the fuck it was.
But over the next couple of months, we're going to be prepping a lot of E3. We might even do one-offs just talking about video games because there's a lot to discuss. especially like this week, Game Developers Conference is going on. Atari has a new piece of hardware coming out that they're showing this week.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Did you see Microsoft has decided to hold their press conference in an alternate location?
I didn't see that.
It's like across the street. The Microsoft, the Microsoft Center. I don't know what the fuck it's called, but I don't know, some fucking megadome.
The Sony Theater.
Some megadome, yeah, I know.
But yeah, we're gonna try to keep updated on everything as it goes on. Sea of Thieves comes out this week. We're gonna have a lot of live streams, which we'll have going on after this podcast is posted. Right. I'm excited for that game. I don't have it pre-ordered, but I think it's a game I'll definitely be picking up.
Yeah.
And actually may purchase Live/Plus to play. We may have a Bedlam crew, I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Going forward, in the next month, big weekend coming up in the beginning of April for the wrestling fans out there. WrestleMania is happening April 8th. April 7th and 8th, we'll be live tweeting NXT TakeOver, WrestleMania, and Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor. And then there was big news a week or two ago that everyone in the Northeast got a major hard on, especially our friend John. Hi, John. WrestleMania 35 will be held at the MetLife Stadium in New Jersey.
Yeah, that's going to be cool.
I went 2 years ago, but I'll tell you right now, I think there will be a revisit. I know if you're on board to go.
Yeah, it probably would be. Absolutely. It's like every kid's dream to go to WrestleMania, man.
Especially us. That was what we grew up on.
Yeah, dude. I would absolutely. Dude, I seriously would have let the Dudley Boys put me through a table, I think, if I could have gone to WrestleMania when I was a kid.
We would have done something.
Like if they were like, this is the one, we'll take you to WrestleMania, but like you got to let them put you through this table. I'd be like, and then I'd let them fold me like a lawn chair. But whatever.
Kane has to throw you through like an inferno hell in a cell. Sure.
Like Steve-O. You ever see that in Jackass? It's fucking Steve-O just falls into the gauntlet.
That's another thing that needs to come back. We used to have that show on TV, and people didn't do stupid shit.
Yeah.
And now it's not on TV, and people are eating Tide Pods.
Now you're all fucking eating Tide Pods and shit, just eating those scented shower beads like that fucking caviar. Get out of here. This generation's crazy.
Johnny, bring
know.
that show back. We need some common sense.
Yeah, it basically is common sense at this point. But Stephen Hawking died.
Yeah, that's very upsetting.
Do they have handicap accessible ramps to heaven?
Man, we're already gonna start. Yeah. They probably do.
Keep rolling, 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 rolling.
Do you even know 3 songs that he wrote? But
yeah, Professor Stephen Hawking is a major loss, though. I was thinking about it a lot this week, which is actually really crazy too, because I think it was like last year his doctoral thesis actually was released from I think Yale.
No, he's British, so whatever school he went over, maybe it was in Oxford. I don't know.
Wherever Stephen Hawking went, they released the paper. And me with my fucking piece of rice-sized brain was trying to make it through this thing. Just to, like, maybe even grasp, like, a slight concept of what he's talking about. Because, like, I like to read about all sorts of, like, space stuff and things like that. And, I think that the accomplishments of that man will most certainly echo through time. Even though I'm pretty sure the last thing he said was, like, condemning us. But, wait, whatever. Hey, let's just look on the good. And, I'd like to think that he's,
he's up there
he's trying to prove to people that Earth exists up there.
It's not flat.
It's not fucking flat, dude. Like,
I think the big message that I get from Stephen Hawking is that guy was in his condition since the mid-'60s, and that guy, with the physical capabilities of a stump, was the smartest man alive.
He was. He's definitely one of the smartest people that has ever lived. It's in my mind, anyway.
So when you sit there and you think that you can't do something because you're a whiny little 16-year-old shit There was a guy
Remember
in a wheelchair.
Stephen Hawking, because this guy, yeah,
Wrote the theory of everything, and that's what it was called.
this guy was a genius, and his work will influence us for years and years and years.
For
But,
years and years.
Rip
and
Fe-
years
Ripperoni, rip in
and
peace,
years.
Professor Stephen Hawking. Years and
And
years and
years
years
and
and
years.
years
and
and
years.
years. Ant ears.
Ant ears.
Ants don't have ears.
No, they got antennae. Okay, guys, we've way overstayed our welcome.
This is a great podcast, though. We had a lot to talk about tonight. But yeah,
Don't forget, like, share, subscribe our Facebook, YouTube, Twitter accounts.
Bedlam Media coming at you. We'll see y'all next week. Thanks for listening, guys.
And years.